black and white like a panda. Need a girl with a booty from Atlanta. Grab a camera, everybody at my shows act like the cops got a gun in them. Hands up, I feel like Drake did.
Hello guys, once again YouTube followers. I wanted to shoot a video about how to build your credit for small business operations because it seems to be it's really hard. It was for me when we first started because banks, they don't like to take a lot of risk, obviously, and when you're a small business operation, they don't like to loan money, and if you don't have credit, then you know, what are you going to do? So I had some people that contacted me. They started their business, and a couple of them were like a year into it. Some of them were almost 3-4 years into it, but they didn't have any credit. So how the banks work is if the first 2 years you're not viable. So after 2 years you're showing you have a gain of profit, then they will consider you with a good beacon score, credit score. What I mean by good credit score will be anywhere between 650 and 700. They will loan at 5 and 550 depending on how much money your income is. But it's tough on small businesses to get loans, and a lot of small businesses, they stay in business for 2-3 years, they're showing profit, but they don't have no credit and they can't buy a home. So living in apartments, and these days renting an apartment, you still have to have good credit because they check that stuff. So how are you going to have a home if you don't have good credit? So I thought what I would do is share my story with you guys and explain how I got my start. I didn't have any credit about 5 years ago. It was a little bit less than that actually. And because I always pay cash, and I just didn't have any credit. And so what I wanted to do was find out, how does somebody get started to build credit? Because nobody wants to touch you. No creditors want to touch you. Banks, retail stores, they just don't want to touch you because you have no credit, zero. Sometimes I think that's worse than having bad credit. So what I did was I went to retail stores. To be exact, I went to a jewelry store and for my wife, and wanted to buy her a ring, and they pulled my credit, and I had zero. I had no credit, but I had proof of my income. I had 2 years of proof of income. So I went to 3 or 4 different stores actually, and I told them, I said, listen, I just need a starting point. I'll stick with you. I'll finance more stuff with you to keep building my credit if you just give me a starting point. And they said no, except for one. It was a jewelry store. I think it was Marks & Morgan at the mall. And I asked for the manager, and I explained my situation. I said, listen, I'm never going to be able to do anything if I don't have a start. And I said, I have proof of my income right here, which was my tax reports and all that jazz. And so she called the corporate office. She was the manager of the store that I was speaking to. She called corporate office and said, listen, this guy is trying to get his credit built. He has income, he's showing good income, but he has no credit. So they approved me for, I think it was $400, which is better than nothing. Otherwise, I was going to walk out of the store and go home with my head tucked. No chance. But they gave me a start, and I knew I could build on that. That was a building point for me. I knew once I got that $400 paid off, that just keep on doing it. And that is what I did. So I paid off the $400, went back, found something else for another $400, financed that, and I kept doing that. Now, some people say, well, what do you keep buying at jewelry stores? Well, that's irrelevant. But in order sometimes to get your credit, you got to do things, you know, that you just got to do to get your credit started and to build on that. And so that's what I did. And so after I got my credit score from nothing up to, I believe it was around 600, maybe 625, not quite 650, I went to my bank and I applied for a credit card. And they're like, they won't give you a credit card unless you secure it. And I said, what exactly does that mean? And they said, you put $500 into an account and we'll give you a credit card, secure credit card. So if they won't lose their money. There's no way they're going to lose their money. I said, I'll take it. And so that's how I got started with my bank. And they gave me a Visa, Visa credit card. And I put $500 into a bank account. And I started using that for about a year. And I went to my bank and I said, I've been a year now with you guys and it's secured, but why can't we raise the credit limit above? Because it was $500. And they're like, sorry, we can't do that. We'll check again in the next 8 months to a year. And so I was like, man, I'm going to spend years and years trying to do this. And so then I went back again about 8 months, a year later. So we're almost 2 years into this. And she says, well, here's what we can do for you. We can unsecure it. We can give you back your $500 and you just have a $500 limit. I'm like, is that the best we can do? I'll take it. So meantime, my whole goal was to build up so we could buy a house. My wife and I buy a house. And so what we did was we built on that unsecured credit card. And it wasn't another year. It wasn't 3 years, but it was a while longer. And I went to my bank manager, which I made friends with, which is good advice. Make friends with your bank manager. And I did that, and we became very close friends. And I went to her and I said, listen, I've been doing this unsecured, and I've got decent credit score now. And she goes, let's pull your credit score and see what you're at. So before we had that conversation with my bank manager, I was very hesitant about getting my credit pulled from anybody because it's called a hard hit. It's an inquiry hit. And what happens is it pulls your credit down because it shows a record of you having somebody check your credit. So if you're trying to finance a car or a house or whatever it may be, go to Belk or Best Buy, whatever, it shows you applied for a loan. Well, that pulls your credit down. And so I was very mindful of that. I didn't want nobody running my credit. And I mean nobody. I was very mindful of that. I watched every time I went somewhere like a Best Buy, whatever, they were asking me about credit. No, I got my own credit card. Until that one time when I had the conversation with my bank manager, a friend of mine, and I said, listen, it's time. It's been over 2 years. I believe my credit score will allow you guys to give me a bigger limit. And so to my surprise, I hadn't really realized my credit or checked my credit for a while. And by the way, you can go to Credit Karma, I believe, and check it for free. It costs nothing. And that's what I did. I checked it periodically from time to time. I checked my credit. And I knew it was over 650. I knew it was over, close to 700. To my surprise, it was almost 800. And they approved me for $6,000. That's when I knew I was at that soft spot. I knew where I was at. And I knew I could build even better on that. And so when you go to a bank and you apply for a loan, not only do they pre-qualify you quick, they work with you with the interest rate. And I mean great interest rates. And that's a good feeling, man. Let me tell you something. That's a great feeling. Not only do you get the great interest rates, but they work with you on the limit of your loan. So how they work that loan is they base it on about 40 to 50%, not really 50%, probably between 35 and 45% of your income for the year. And the reason why they do that is because they want to determine how much, if you make $40,000 a year and your mortgage needs to be less than half of that. So if you're wanting a house for $200,000, your mortgage is going to be like $1,100, $1,200 a month, whatever, and you're only pulling down X amount of dollars, they're not going to approve you for that. They will not approve you for a $200,000 house if you're only bringing home $35,000 a year. They're not going to do it. So be mindful of that. You want to show all your monies that you're making, because that's the ultimate goal, is getting your home and keeping that home, making your mortgage payment consistently. Then you get your power, your water, so forth and so on. And so when you get your credit around those numbers, people are begging you to take their credit cards. I get letters every day from people wanting me to take their credit cards. 0 interest for 12 months, great. So you can go out and you can finance whatever, but also be mindful of this. If you got a $5,000 limit, you don't want to go max that out. That's going to hurt you. It's going to destroy you. It's going to cut your legs off. You don't want to do that. Maybe use a percentage, that maybe 20% of that, and pay it off quickly. Don't pay $25 or $50 a month on that. Pay it off quickly, and keep just building and building like a house, one brick at a time. Just keep building and building and building. And man, let me tell you something. When you get there at 800, man, you can walk in any bank as long as you can prove your income. You can get a home, and that's the path I chose. And I have people that will notify me, have a small business, and some of them have decent credit, some have no credit. And they're like, how did you do that, Tim? And so I wanted to share this story with you guys. And if you can relate, great, make a comment. And please do me a favor, guys. Subscribe to me, like me, ring that bell so that way you get a notification of our new videos, and I hope you guys enjoy them. So if any of you guys have any questions, any comments, please make them, and I will answer them the best that I can anyway. And thanks again for watching. Once again, subscribe, ring that bell, and like us. See ya.